Despite what mainstream media or the GOP or the neoliberals want to tell you or to tell us, most of the American people believe in these issues. Check out these charts for healthcare related issues and on Social Security, Medicare for all, where Americans would get their health insurance from the government. We see very clearly that 55% of all voters say yes. When you break people down between Democrat and Republicans, 79% of Democrats say yes. 28% of Republicans say yes. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing in our country. And it has been going in the right direction for a very long time, that the American people are ready. It is our elected officials who are behind the times. And voters overwhelmingly want Social Security to continue existing 10 years from now, hopefully 20 years and 30 years from now. There's always a generation ahead and a generation behind, and all of those generations deserve to have the benefit of Social Security, but voters overwhelmingly want Social Security to continue existing 10 years from now. When they were asked, do you think Social Security should exist 10 years from now? You can see that all likely voters, 90%. Beautiful. When you break it down to Democrats, Republicans, or independent party folks, 92% of Democrats, 88% of people who identify as an independent or with a third party, and even 91% of Republicans. David, there is no daylight really on this issue between Democrats, Republicans, or independents for that matter.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And Republicans have long, in terms of Social Security, given us this false choice that if we want to keep Social Security solvent, the Republicans say, oh, we either have to raise the retirement age or we have to cut benefits. And the fact of the matter is, can you imagine a Senate hearing in which we give a platform to, okay, well, what if we're not taxing just the first $149,000 of income to Social Security? What if we're taxing the first $500,000 or $1 million? What would that do to Social Security? And suddenly having that platform, not only does it educate so many people in Congress and the Senate, but it also educates the American people who can say, no, wait a second, I'm looking up at a hearing here that is giving me another way than what I've been hearing from Republicans for all these years. So again, to be able to amplify these issues is a huge deal.
It really is. And the data actually lines up. And when you go out and talk to voters, as these posters have, the voters are being very clear about what they would like to see their government provide for them. We have another graph for you, the federal government and private insurance companies negotiating with prescription drug manufacturers to set universal prices for prescription drugs. 62% of US adults say, yeah, let's do it. 76% of Democrats, 58% of independents, 51% of Republicans. So overwhelmingly, the American people are right there. And how about allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices directly with prescription drug manufacturers? Again, all US adults or those who were polled, 68%, Democrats 76%, Independent 64%, Republicans 65%. That's coming from The Economist and YouGov. Again, it's not the people. It actually is the elected officials who are standing in the way of this progress. Let's put up this other graph where it comes to whether or not people support or don't support free college. Well, here's where we are. The general public overwhelmingly, parents, even more than that. Shout out to the parents who have to finance this education. You break down to an ethnicity, you see on and on. Basically what this chart, this graph is showing that overwhelmingly, regardless of how people have identified in this particular survey, they are with the government providing free college education. And when we say the word free, David, sometimes people get all in a bunch about it. Really, the way I see this, and I would love your thoughts on this as well, is this is about a social contract. It is about an investment. In the same way, K through 12 education was not always guaranteed for all people. There came a point in time in our country's history where we collectively decided that children of this nation deserve a K through 12 education paid for with our tax dollars. Now in this century, we need a paradigm shift that adds pre-K and also college to that. It's an investment and it just expands our social contract.
Absolutely. And in fact, study after study has shown that when you invest on the front end, you save money on the back end. When you invest in pre-K, when you give people a good education, you save money in terms of whether it's incarceration or drug problems or any sort of issues that they may run into later in their life. And I want to try to connect all this to sort of the outstanding sort of political issue that's still there, and that is the Georgia Senate race. If Democrats win in Georgia, that'll give them the 51-49 as opposed to a 50-50 tie with Kamala Harris breaking the tie. If the Democrats have 51-49, then they will have an edge. It won't be evenly split committees. They will have an additional seat. They will have more resources. And it becomes that much easier for Democrats to issue subpoenas to decide on what the priorities of these hearings will be. So for people who want Bernie Sanders to have even more authority and power to raise attention to these issues, if we can get Raphael Warnock reelected in Georgia, that will help when it comes time to focusing on these issues and making sure that these Senate committees have the sort of power that I think Bernie Sanders and the rest of us want to have.
And thanks for that reminder, David. Unfortunately, some folks have been jumping, skipping and hopping over the fact that the Democrats have control right now without knowing the outcome of Senator Warnock's race. And I think that is wrong. A lot of people think that that is wrong, to just write off Senator Warnock. And you make a very poignant point about why it is important to continue to push to make sure that he wins that race, to give Democrats even more firepower. Hopefully they will use that power on behalf of the 98% in this country who need them to stand up. All linked to this, so whether within that committee that Senator Sanders is eyeing is also our labor unions. Approval of labor unions, what is it? I'm glad that you asked. Check out this chart. This is coming from Gallup. Do you approve or disapprove of labor unions? And this is from a span of time from 1936 to 2022. And as we can see, it was ebbs and flows all the way through. But where we are now in 2020, when they took the poll, 71% of the American people do support, do believe in labor unions. Another reason why, David, the PRO Act should have passed. I am miffed, to put it lightly, as to why it has not passed yet, because the people want it. Dems will be smart, very smart, to let Senator Sanders serve as the chairperson of the Help Committee, because this country definitely needs some help. Check out these stats. We're looking at where the best healthcare is in the world. Yeah, we're not even on the list. Denmark, Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, Finland, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Germany, Luxembourg, Austria. United States is nowhere on there. Or how about another map that we have used often? We know these stats so well. Countries with universal health care in 2022. And we see the beautiful aqua blue is where the countries that have universal health care, and there we are, the United States of America, a hegemon nation, and we do not have it. We should be embarrassed. It is a moral imperative, and this imperative would help not just the individuals who need it, which is all of us. To be human means that at some point in your life, you will need health care, but also from an economic perspective, it is the better way to go. We spend more money on health care, and we do not have better outcomes than other nations. It would help businesses as well, both small and medium sized and even large businesses. It would help everyone. So this good policy is also good politics. Hopefully the elected officials will get a clue on this, David, but with Senator Sanders at the helm, I have no doubt that he will be pushing as hard as he can, as he always has.
Yeah, and this story gives me, look, this is another reason to be optimistic about the future. I mean, we've seen some pretty good developments the last couple of weeks. The idea that one of these Senate committees will have more power and that Senator Sanders will be running it and he'll have subpoena power and the power to elevate all of these issues. That is a reason to be hopeful.
It really is. To quote the great Reverend Jesse Jackson, keep hope alive. We will do that indeed.